Hi, this is Prompt 1, and the standards that I will be talking about are third grade standards for reading foundations, both in phonics for no and applied grade level phonics and word analysis skills in decoding, and fluency, which is read with sufficient accuracy and fluency to support comprehension. What do we need to know with these standards? We need to know how to apply phonics and word analysis skills. That means we need to look at words and decode them correctly, identify and understand common prefixes and suffixes and know how it changes the meanings of words, decode multisyllabic words using Latin suffixes to increase that automaticity, read grade level text fluently, which demonstrates accuracy, appropriate pacing, and expression, and then use context clues to confirm or self-correct word recognition and understanding, as well as recognize and read irregularly spelled words on grade level text. To be able for students to do that, teachers must possess the knowledge of a deep understanding of phonics rules, including prefixes, suffixes, and multisyllabic words and how they are structured. I think the state of Georgia has done a great job with their new House bills, covering some dyslexia laws and putting some things in place to ensure that all teachers have a common foundation for this deep understanding of phonics rules. There is knowledge of evidence-based fluency strategies that need to be put into place, such as repeated readings and guided oral readings, the ability to assess students' decoding and fluency levels to provide targeted support, skills to differentiate instruction, familiarity with scaffolding techniques to help students develop accuracy, automaticity, and prosody in reading, as well as strategies to engage students in meaningful reading practices, which include interactive activities and real-world text and applications so that they can build on their background knowledge and have that positive connection to the text. So after instruction, just like I said, students should be able to decode words using phonics strategies, recognize common prefixes and suffixes, and read fluently with accuracy and expression, as well as teachers need to possess strong understanding of phonemic awareness, decoding strategies, fluency building techniques, and differentiation to support all of the learners in their classroom. Differentiation is so key to understanding these different strategies. Carol Tomlinson has written several texts and is a leader in the differentiation movement. She says differentiation is all about adapting instruction to cater to the diverse needs of our learners, ensuring that every student can engage with the curriculum at their level that's just right for them. As a co-taught teacher, this speaks volume to me. My co-teacher is special ed certified and I am gen ed certified, and we both take our roles very seriously and we share the roles of all of our students, and differentiation is how we meet the needs from our first percentile student to our 97th percentile student and ensure that they are getting appropriate access to the standard and the curriculum with what they need. Pedagogical content knowledge is from Schulman in 1986, which I love. That means that good knowledge can stand the test of time, and it refers to the insight that we need to teach specific subjects effectively. Teachers showcase this by choosing the right instructional strategy, supporting learning experiences, and employing assessments to guide their teaching. To successfully differentiate instruction, it's important to have a strong grasp on pedagogical content knowledge so we can tailor our approach to meet the student's unique needs. So you have to kind of be a student of yourself and a student of your students to understand what works best for them. Instructional strategies that I have seen work very well in my classroom and other classrooms that I've stepped into are word walls. A word wall is defined as a visual display of frequently used words, prefixes, suffixes, and suffixes to reinforce vocabulary recognition and phonics skills. You can see them used all over the classroom, literally on walls. You can see them used in journals. Kids have personal word walls. And it just is a visual aid that helps that repetition and recognition to aim for higher fluency and decoding skills. My below level learners get to gain that repeated exposure to high frequency words and phonics patterns using tactile and interactive methods. We use Wilson's foundations that have the magnetic tiles that we move around and manipulate to form words, and use that morphology to, as we manipulate words, we then can find meaning within the words, which is awesome. And then it also just helps reinforce that recognition. For grade level learners, we use word walls for references while reading and writing, applying knowledge of prefix, suffixes, and irregular words to decode text independently, using those as anchor charts. And above level learners will engage in a word study, analyzing how prefixes, suffixes impact word meaning, and applying this knowledge to new vocabulary in their reading and writing. We do a lot of Greek and Latin roots to really understand meaning of words and not only decode the words, but to form meaning with the words. You will see that these are different samples of word walls that I have used in the past. The first two are pictures of classrooms with foundations. They are given within the unit. You can see a picture of the ones in the classroom are level 2. The picture on the screen is level 3, and those are to stay up all year long. And we put sticky notes over parts of it. As we learn, we take them off so that the students are not overwhelmed with the rules and there's application to what they're learning. So it's not just seeing the same thing over and over with no connection. And then the notice and note comes from a book called Notice and Note. And a 5th grade teacher that I have worked with created this particular anchor chart, and it is phenomenal. It is a advanced level word wall that when you read, it's just building that comprehension with those 6 different strategies. Another strategy is repeated reading, defined as a strategy where students reread the same text multiple times to develop accuracy, automaticity, and expression. Students practice reading passages out loud many times to enhance that fluency and comprehension, and also just really build that confidence that they know what they're reading. And the more times they read it, I have found that students do not get bored with the text. They actually become more engaged with the text. And it builds that reading stamina and confidence, improving automatic word recognition and prosody. My below-level learners just develop that fluency through structured and supported practice with teacher or peer guidance, benefiting from modeled expression and phrasing. It might be that I read the passage first, we read it together, and then on the third read, they read it independently. It might be that they skip through the reading the first time and we really just take each word and we stretch it out and decode the words, and then they can then read it at a faster rate the next time with higher accuracy, and then even faster with more accuracy, not mumbling through it, but really just being able to read at an appropriate rate. On-level learners improve automaticity and comprehension by reading familiar text with increased speed and accuracy over multiple attempts, very similar to our lower-level readers, but it is more independent at a self-paced with maybe a timer or an auditory app on the computer where they can read to themselves and then listen back. And then above level learners, we're really working on that expression and not reading like robots, and repeated reading helps them make that connection between the fluency and comprehension. These are some work samples that I have used in the past. You can see for my lower level readers, I teach 3rd grade, and so this being a level E is well below grade level, but we don't mind. We work on that. And that was at the beginning of the year, and now that group is on a level J. And that's huge growth. And again, J is not on grade level for right now, but I am so proud of the growth in those students. And there is a recorded lesson that will be available in the slideshow that you can see of working with repeated reading. The student that I worked with in the fall, Hadley, she and I worked on Monster and Closet and Detective Mellon, working on words per minute. And then we stretched it out to the next lesson to work on completing the passage and not worrying about that 1 minute mark, but really reading with fluency and accuracy. Another one is flexible and strategic grouping. Dynamic grouping is where students work in small groups based on skills and instructional needs. Students are grouped by their phonics needs, whether it's decoding multisyllabic words, recognizing irregular spell words, and they work through very targeted activities. This provides tailored support, ensuring each student receives appropriate scaffolding. And this is seen you can see the tag of Vaughn and Lennon Thompson from a 2004 article. This also is, you're going to see in the next couple slides, how I run my reading time in my classroom. I am very much a small group teacher, and I feel like kids need to have that differentiated instruction, and they need to have what their targeted area of need. So my below all learners, but my below level receive targeted phonics instruction in small groups and practice decoding multisyllabic words with teacher support for a 20-minute rotation. That's a good half of their chunk, and then the next half could be a book club and working on that fluency. But it is skill with application, skill with application. On-level learners work collaboratively with peers to apply that phonics and fluency strategy in real-world reading tasks, such as partner reading and group discussions. And I try to find text that is credible and text that is applicable to their interest. And above level learners try to engage in independent or peer-led exploration of advanced word structures and text-based fluency challenges. So this is an example. Every week I do a Monday, Tuesday, whole group Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or a combination of 2 group rotations in a week. And there's book club. They get book club twice a week. They get to meet with me twice a week. They get to meet with our SPED teacher twice a week. They get to meet with our student teacher twice a week. And then there's an independent skill twice a week. And so it's really just working on, they get phonics, they get fluency, they get the standards. And I just feel like this has been successful in my classroom for all students having equitable access to standards, all students having access to fluency practice, all students flexing their independent bones and muscles, and it has worked really, really well. So I do try to prepare learning opportunities for all academics on that academic level. I use tiered word lists to match students' decoding abilities. I offer fluency practice. I provide sentence frames and support for comprehension skills, and then movement-based word recognition games to engage in kinesthetic learners. And also do a lot of tapping out and getting that kinesthetic learning as well, so that we're mapping out the parts of the brain and having those neurons just firing away for those word recognition and sound recognition. To monitor learning, I use time fluency assessments, student self-assessments, teacher observation during guided reading. We have positive reinforcement, structured reading routines to help manage that behavior, and the students know what to expect and when to expect it. Word walls have been positive reinforcement for vocabulary, but they still need that explicit modeling. Students benefit from additional comprehension strategies and scaffolding. Flexible groups address individual needs, and transition between groups do require clear expectations, but we set that from the beginning and remind them almost every day of what the expectations are. This is my reading fluency data that is done on our school level, but I have to input my own data. We take our MAP data, our milestones projection, our FMP reading levels. We do look at Lexile. We look at ORF through Acadience. And this data is not the end-all be-all of the data that I use, but I do refer back to this data quite frequently to understand where my students are, where are they coming from, and how can I best support them. So by integrating these word walls, repeated readings, flexible grouping, I have hoped to have created an inclusive classroom that supports literacy development, differentiation, and pedagogical content knowledge guide my instruction, my decisions, and I try to always ensure that students develop strong phonics, decoding, and fluency skills. And I also try to include encoding when appropriate. There's continued reflection and adaptation to enhance teaching effectiveness and student success throughout the entire year. These are my references that I have used, and thank you so much.